Hi everybody, thanks for coming back and joining me on this tutorial. I'm going to be tackling the eyes of a black cat today. I'll just clean up my paper as I speak to you. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to focus on these lovely eyes. They're kind of amber eyes on this cat. Really quite striking, so I'm hoping to do them justice. Now, I will say it is quite a small piece I'm working on. It's only A5, so there is a limit when you're working on a smaller scale of how much detail you can cram in, but I do still try and capture a good likeness and good detail in there. So I thought it was quite a good size just to get across how I use pencils, what the methods are, what pencils I like to use colour-wise, brands, etc. So with that in mind, I'm just going to get started. Now, just to mention what I've just pulled across here is a paper called Polydraw. It's very similar to tracing paper. It's kind of a drafting film, I suppose you would call it. The only reason I've got that across is just to protect the drawing while I draw, because your hands are covered in all sorts of kind of oils and things, and you'll soon find if you try just drawing straight without any protection on your hand, you will have accidents now and again where you've smudged something or you've got some of the oil or grease off your hands on the paper. Obviously, wash your hands before you start, but even still, it can easily happen. So this is what I do just to kind of protect my paper. Now, what I'm doing here, just to get started, is just getting the sharpness of the outline in. And for this, I am using Polychromos Black. Now, I've mentioned Polychromos Black quite a few times. I'll just hold it up. Hopefully you can make that out. Can you see that? There we go. And I've discussed Polychromos Black quite a lot already in my videos. The reason being, I love it for work like this where you need really sharp detail. See how I'm getting those eyelashes in early on, getting the directions in, and it's a lovely pencil because you can get a really, oh sorry, I'm blocking the view there for you. It has a really sharp point to it, which you can sometimes struggle with some of the softer pencil brands. So Polychromos does sharpen up nicely, gives you a nice point. The point stays for quite a while because it is a bit harder, the lead. That's what you want when you want nice sharp lines. I'm just going to add in a few of the wee eyelashes around the top here, just so that I've got them in there and I know where they should be. Now at this point as well, I'm going to put in the pupil of the eye. And cat eyes are really interesting to draw because the pupils are all different kind of shapes. Some are kind of diamonds, some are a bit more curved. They all are a wee bit different and they're quite striking to look at, so I do enjoy getting that in. Okay, I'm just going to darken that in. I'm going to just colour that like that. Okay, so at this point I don't want to continue too long with the black. I want to get some of the lighter colours in. Let me just map this little bit here out. Okay. Now, what I tend to do quite early on, and you don't have to do this, but this is the way I work, so I quite often map in my white as well. So there's often a reflection in eyes. It can be kind of pure white or it can be off-white depending on what's reflecting in it. In this one, it looks like the cat's possibly indoors. It kind of looks like a slight window shape there, but I'm not sure. And I'm just going to map that in. The reason being is once you get started in blending and getting lots of colours in, you can sometimes lose your highlight. It can get kind of lost. So I like to get that in quite early on. It will die down and we will then top it back up, but it just gets it in so it doesn't get lost. Likewise, I've got a little highlight coming across the eye there and coming down there. There we go. So I've got that in. I don't know how well you can see that on the screen, but there is some white mapped in there. Now, I am going to map in some of the browns. Normally I wouldn't do this at this point. I'd probably start with my lighter colours and then put the darks on top. But I feel I want to get the shapes in. I feel like they could get lost quite easily. So I'm just going to get this in here. I'm just gently putting them in. It is gentle pressure I'm using. I'm not pushing hard here. The risk you have pushing hard, and I'll talk about this in a future video because a lot of people ask about this. The risk you have pushing hard is that you basically fill the grain of the paper. The grain of the paper gets called tooth, and it's quite a good description because if you imagine lots of, jagged teeth, and then you go in with your pencil and you fill those teeth, so all the gaps between the teeth and whatever, you end up, what happens is you can't then add any more. You've filled it up, so you can't get lots of layers. So you don't want to do that. If you want this, well, if you want to work the way I work anyway, because I like adding in lots of layers, because the more layers you can add, the more realistic it starts looking, especially with fur. Fur definitely needs layers, because then you get that kind of illusion of thickness and, the kind of texture of the fur. Whereas if you just fill that all up with pencil, it just ends up looking quite flat. So you don't want to do that. You want to get some layers in. And same with the eye here. Although it's not quite as important, it still helps. It gives depth to the eye rather than looking too flat. So as you can see, I'm just mapping in shapes at the moment, getting some nice lines in there where the brown is. And it's so that then when I put in some of these brighter colours, I don't want to lose that, because I feel the brown does add to it. It adds quite a nice dimension to it. The pencil I'm using, I better let you know. It's, can we see? There we go. So it's Van Dyke Brown. It's not quite focusing, but hopefully you can see. There we are. That's it now. Okay, it is, I always want to say Dick Van Dyke Brown, but that's wrong. So it's a Polychromos, and again, in this case, I don't really need it super sharp, but I do like this colour. It's quite a nice kind of in-betweeny colour, not too dark, not too light. So that's more the reason I'm using this one this time. Okay, so I'm quite pleased with how that's coming on. And what I'm going to do now is I feel at this stage I probably want to get in some kind of yellowy tones, because I don't want to lose that when I start adding more darks, and I'm about to start adding darks. So I'm going to get my Spanish orange in first. So this is a different pencil brand. This is Prismacolor, and it's a bit different from Polychromos. It's got a lovely softness to it. So as you can see, as I put that on, it's really pigmented. It really lays down well. It layers well, it blends well, and it's got lovely pigment. The downside is that it's the opposite to what we've just been using, in that it's quite hard to keep a sharp point. This one's not too bad that I've got right now, but it will wear down really quickly. So that's the kind of downside to Prismacolors. But they do have lovely colours. They are really nice and creamy to use. It goes down easily. As you can see, it's covering the paper really well. And I'm just going to get some of that in. It's just going to brighten that eye right up. It comes round there. And we've got a little bit at the top there, I think, as well. And if we don't, I'm putting it in. There we go. Okay, so that's starting to take a wee bit of shape. Okay, and I'm going to now add in my orange, and for this I'm just using Prismacolor orange. Just let that focus and let you see. There we go. And for that, I'm just going to start adding in, there's quite a kind of orange band all the way around this one, as you can see from the, I'll put the reference photo up for you to see. So you should be able to see what I'm working off. and it'll let you see there is a kind of orange band all round here. It is all kind of orange, and then it blends a little bit out here as well towards the edge. Oops, went slightly over there, but that doesn't matter. Now if you do what I've just done, it's sometimes good actually for me to make some mistakes so that you can see how I cope with them, because everybody makes mistakes, so it's more about how you then deal with those. So you can see there's just a tiny little bit of the orange that's gone outside the black. I'm not worried in the slightest, because this is a black cat, so as soon as I start filling out the rest of the cat, there's going to be black over that, and it's just going to cover it. It's as simple as that. It will just cover that up. As you can see, I'll just put that over slightly, and you can see already it's disappearing, so I'm not worried about things like that. They do get covered as you then move around the portrait, and because I'm using layers of pencil, you can fix a lot, so don't panic. We'll make mistakes, and learning how to fix them is a huge part of drawing, so don't worry if you make a few. Okay, so I'm fairly happy with how this is going so far. As you can see, as you start working through though, you will lose some details. My eyelashes kind of disappeared there, but I know where they are, so I can go back in and kind of map them out again. Not worried about that. And this is what happens. You just kind of work through building it up and going back and building again. Right now, I'm noticing round about the pupil, and let me just have a wee, excuse me while I rummage in my pencils. I'm going to bring out my indigo blue. Again, it's a Prismacolor indigo blue. Where are we? There we are. And I'm just going to use this round about the pupil area here, because I can see it's kind of blue rather than a white highlight across the pupil. And I'm going to colour the pupil blue as well. The reason I'm doing that is for depth. Most things aren't pure black. If it looks black, chances are it's not. It'll be a mixture of blacks and browns, or blacks and blues, purple sometimes in there. It depends what's being reflected, and if you add blue, you will find it will add a bit of depth as well. Now I'm just going to add a wee bit of blue down here as well, and it actually looks slightly green, which should happen naturally because I've got yellowy colours. Some of it should naturally just go a wee bit green round about here, but that's fine. It looks like that in the photo. I don't know if you can make that out from the distance you're looking at it, but it's definitely there. Now what I'm going to do, and it's not there, and this is where you use a bit of artistic license. Too many people are fixated on things being absolutely as in the photo, but I think the whole point in being an artist is that you can enhance things or change things to how you feel they should look. Alright, the overall likeness should definitely be there. You don't want to change it beyond recognition, but if you spot things and you think it would look better a certain way, or you can enhance something, absolutely go for it. That's what people are paying you for. As a pet portrait artist, I don't want to just purely replicate what's there. I want to make a piece of art so that people, you know, they enjoy looking at it. They're not buying a photograph, they're buying a piece of art. So I want to make that look like a piece of art. So what I did there was I just put a little bit of indigo blue on the top of the highlight there, and I'm just blending it in with the white. The reason I did that is, again, you probably would get a little bit of blue reflected in there, and it adds a little bit of depth, and it stops it looking so stark and white. So this is where it gets exciting. So I'm going in with the Derwent Blender pen, and this is one of my favourite pieces of kit. As you can see, that's the tip of it there. So it's an alcohol blender pen, and this is a very clean looking one. Normally they are covered in bits and bobs from previous pieces, but this one's nice and fresh. Basically what it does is it just melts the pencil into the paper a little bit. It just dissolves it, softens it, and melts it in. So now this is the point where you think you're ruining your art, so don't panic. If it's your first time using a blender pen, you will panic. Don't worry. So The main point I would say though is in between using it, as soon as it picks up some pencil, unless you're wanting to use it to actually mix the colours on the page, which is absolutely fine, you can do that. But if you're not wanting to do that and you just want to blend the pencil and get rid of the graininess and make it look nice, just be careful, because as soon as it picks something up, it will move it about the paper. So keep remembering in between, if you get some pencil on the tip and you feel like it's starting to smudge things in a way that you don't like, or it's moving the pencil about and you don't want that, just wipe it off on a bit of paper. It's as simple as that. Just give it a wee wipe off. I don't know if you can see it there, but mine's picking up a little bit on the end. And that's okay if you want to mix the colours on the page, and if you actually want it to pick up that colour, sometimes that can be a good thing. But if you're trying to keep things fairly clean and all you're trying to do is get rid of the kind of graininess of the pencil and blend it in, then just in between using, just wipe it on a wee bit of white paper and you'll see the colour come off, and just wipe it until it looks clean again. Okay, so as you can see, what's happened there is it's just blended that in. So what's quite good is, as I mentioned earlier, if you're filling the tooth of the paper with pencil, what can happen is you can get to a point where you can't put any more on the page, and you may be looking at it thinking, oh, but it's still not got depth, it could do with a bit more, it's just not quite there yet. The blender pen, because you're kind of melting the pencil a little bit and you're getting rid of that graininess, and you're kind of smoothing it all out, because you're doing that, it's kind of taking some of the pencil away, and it allows you to then build up a wee bit more layers on top. So as you can see, I've let that dry a little bit. I don't have to wait too long for this one because it's such a small piece. It dried really quickly there. Now, if you start drawing and it's not dry, just stop for a wee minute, just let it dry, because if not, you'll probably either destroy your paper or your drawing, because trying to draw when it's still wet, it just doesn't really work. So let it dry properly. I've been a wee bit impatient here, which is why I'm kind of moving about rather than continuing with this area, because that felt a little bit wet still. So I'm just going to let that dry properly, and I'll just pull this in. Again, you can see it's not laying down, so I've been impatient. So unlike me. So I've been a little bit impatient and I've just gone in anyway, which I do not promote, but I'm doing it anyway. Okay, so as I do it, if it's wet, you'll tend to find that the pencil just isn't taken to the paper properly. So if you give it just a wee minute or two, it will go down better. I'm just going to darken that while I'm waiting. I don't have much patience, I have to say, and it is a fairly quick method, so I don't generally have to have a lot of patience, but yeah, I'm really impatient, so I tend to start doing it when I shouldn't. So if you're like me, just try and resist, just hold off just a wee minute or two and it'll dry out. Okay, so as you can see, I'm just kind of putting some of my highlights back in, just making sure they don't get lost. There's a wee one down there as well, just get that in. I find as well with highlights, there are several types of highlights as you're doing pet portraits, you'll see that, or if you're drawing animals, whatever your purpose is. In some eyes, the highlights can be very bright, you know, just pure white, really out there. And other ones, they're almost like a glaze on top of the colour and you can kind of see through them. So do observe and see, depending on the portrait you're doing, just observe what's actually happening on it. Is it a pure white highlight? Is it a glaze over the top of colour? Just make sure you're actually observing what's happening. Okay. And as you can see, I'm just starting to put in the Spanish orange again. I'm then going to go back in with the pure orange and just bring out some. And as you can see, the blender pen kind of blends a lot of it away. But then you can just add it back in. but this time you've got that nice base colour underneath, so you start getting a nice depth to it. It may seem like you're just repeating the same work, but actually it turns out better because you're adding depth to it. And it's a lot smoother this time round, as you can see. Okay, so we're getting there. I am just going to go back in with my Van Dyke Brown as well and bring some of those out and darken them. So at this stage you're just refining what's there really, and adding in a little bit more detail, going over what's there, bringing it back out, darken your darks and lighten your lights, and you're on your way. Okay, bring that around. I feel like that brown's not quite working for me down there, so I'm going to change that, I think. Okay, I feel as well, and this is what happens when you do things, you start to tweak things as you go. I'm going to go in here with Crimson Red. Now, I know this isn't red, the eye itself, but there are some really dark oranges in here. So I'm just going in with the red, and I'm just using a really, really light pressure here because I don't want it to turn out red. And as you can see, I've just put a few little lines there. I'm then going to just go over it with the orange on top just to kind of calm that back down. But that should hopefully give me that kind of darker orange that's going on at the bottom of the eye. I don't know if you can make that out very well, but it's definitely there. Now, excuse the background noise as I sharpen my pencil. And I'm just going to go back in with my really sharp pencil and start picking out those eyelashes. You see that? And they look great when they're going across. I mean, not all cats have this, you know, amount of detail over the eye like this. Maybe the eyelashes will be slightly hidden depending on the way the cat's sitting and the way the light's shining and all sorts. But it's great when you get ones with eyelashes because I mean, look at that over the highlight. It just looks lovely. Now I'm also going to bring out just a few little lines round about the eye here that I feel I've kind of lost. So let's bring some of that out as well. And darken my pupil. I want that pupil nice and dark. Now, let me just darken this little corner as well. It's quite a dark corner there. I'm just going on top. A little bit better. Okay. And I'm just going to use some dark umber. It's a really dark, rich brown this, and again it's Prismacolor I'm using, and it's a lovely brown this. It's a really rich brown compared to some of the others. A wee bit darker than the Van Dyke. And I'm just going in and adding in some details because I feel there's a couple of bits that need to be a wee bit deeper. I'm just going to add that in. And round the edge there. There we go. Lovely. Okay, now I'm just going to blend a couple of bits because I feel this bit here. This is where I used the blender pen again, but slightly different. This time I'm not going in to blend the full lot. What I'm doing is just spotting little areas where I feel it's maybe still a bit grainy or it needs to be blended together and softened. So I'm not using it just to cover absolutely everything. I'm just going in and, you know, picking little bits that I feel need touched up. Blend the outside line as well. I feel it's slightly harsh. I'll just, oops, sorry, nearly covered it for you there. Okay. Now I think I'm going to leave that eye and move on to the other one. Obviously there's more work to be done round about the eye, but I'm fairly pleased with how the eye's turning out there. I feel that's looking quite similar to the one in the photo. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave that there, and I'm going to move across to this one, which is quite an exciting looking one. It's quite a good shape. So again, I'm going to start with my Polychromos pencil, and I'm just going to map in some of the shapes and get that outline, because it's a really good shape, this one. Now, in case you think I'm making a crap job, hopefully you can see by the photo at the top, this eye is kind of bigger and squinter, and you know, it looks really suspicious, the cat, doesn't it? Like it's suspecting something. So yeah, it does look a bit different. I don't want you thinking, oh my goodness, those eyes don't match. They don't match in the photo either, so I'm okay with that. It's funny because when I showed people that I was going to be doing this one, some people said, and are you going to fix the eye? I thought, why would you want to fix it? Because ultimately that's the eye, and the cat looks awesome the way it is, quite frankly. I think it looks really good. But it is something that comes up in pet portraits as well. I've had people who want to correct certain features of their pet, or perhaps they've just not taken a great photo and they want to do something with it to make it look different. And that's fine. Sometimes people want to remove things, sometimes people want to put things in. It really is personal preference, and that's what it's all about. I mean, it's about people getting out of it what they would really like. So yeah, some people will ask for things to be removed, some people will ask for things to be put in. I've had that as well. I've had where people maybe want the pet's toys put in, and that's, I do enjoy that. I think that's a really nice touch to a portrait. If somebody says, oh, could you put their favourite teddy in, or their favourite ball, or whatever, I think that's a really nice thing to do. It's really personal. It brings a bit of life to the portrait as well. It can really add the character of who that cat or dog was, you know, if they're no longer here perhaps, and it just reminds the owner of, you know, the activities they did when they were here, and that's got to be a nice thing. But some people don't want that. Some people want to keep it simple, classic. Each to their own. It depends what you like. There isn't a right or wrong way. It's really just up to personal preference of the owner. And after all, it's their pet. It's them we're doing it for, so. Okay, so I'm going straight in with the Spanish orange this time. And as you'll notice, this second eye, once you've done one, and you've kind of got to grips with the colours you want to use, how it lays down, how it looks on the page, the second one tends to go a lot quicker, as you can see from what's going on here. You know, I am able to do it a lot quicker because I know I'm happy with my colour choices, I'm happy with how the first one turned out, so you can just really get in amongst it quite quickly. So hopefully this one won't take quite as long. Now what I'm going to do with this one, like I say, everybody wants something different, and I want something different with this one. I kind of feel with this one the highlights on the eyes are overcomplicated. Now obviously that's what's happening in real life on this photo, but it kind of feels to me they're a wee bit overcomplicated, and it might be more difficult to look at. So what I want to do with this one is just simplify that down and just have a white highlight there and a white highlight at the other side, but nothing too complicated. There's a lot of shapes going on which could just get confusing to look at, so I'm just going to simplify that slightly. And this time I'm going to go in with the red a bit sooner because I felt that was needed in the last one. I might as well get it in at this stage. That way it'll blend nicely when we get to that point. Now I apologise, I feel like I've got a slight buzz on my microphone here, and I don't know if you guys can hear it or not, so if you can, I apologise for that. I'll have a wee look into it for next time if it does bother any of you. I'm still experimenting with all my audio and and camera equipment. So if you feel, I would love to hear from you actually. So if you would like to let me know what you like or what you don't like, as long as it's constructive, please. Yeah, please let me know. I would like to know what you think about the videos, but please be kind. You know, we're all on here just trying to help, so please be nice. And I am still at early stages with the video side of things, so if you feel, you know, there's something you would want to see, something you don't particularly like to see, or if you've got suggestions on how I can do my videos or things that you think need changed, let me know. After all, I want this to be useful to you guys. I know you're on here because you've either looked for me or you support me on another platform, perhaps my Instagram or whatever. But if you're on here and you want to see these videos, please let me know if there's things you want to see. I'm more than happy to put on things that you guys want. There will be a variety of content. I'm going to be doing all sorts of things, but please let me know. Or let me know if there are things that you feel you need help with. You know, if you're struggling with something in particular, what are your biggest struggles when it comes to art? Or if you're trying to do pet portraits and you're having issues or whatever, let me know. More than happy to put on any advice, tips, whatever I can help with. So please comment, be nice, and I'll help you out. Because we're all in this together, aren't we? So we might as well help each other. And if I can help you with something in particular, let me know. Or if there's a certain type of content you like, let me know. I do get asked a lot of questions, and I will try and cover a lot of those as I go through my videos. More than happy to help. Okay, so as you can see, it's taken shape a lot quicker this time because I know the colour choices I made last time. I know what I'm happy with, what I'm not happy with. And as you know, I'm not patient enough to wait, so I'm just going to start tidying up the outline while I wait, because hopefully I should be able to do that, I think, because it's not too wet. There we are. Yep. See the difference it makes even when you go back in and just sharpen up those outlines. That makes a massive difference. So do bear in mind, don't just blend it and leave it. You want to get back in there and really sharpen things up. Likewise, side of that highlight's really sharp. I'm just going to sharpen that up. Put a couple of wee lines to indicate that it's reflecting, I don't know, maybe it's reflecting a window or something. Then I'm going to just highlight some of these lovely eyelashes. Now, I actually think in this case the eyelashes aren't actually there. It's the shadow from the eyelashes that I'm seeing, I think. So I'm not going to go too OTT with that. I'll get back in with my browns. So I'm going back in with the dark umber. And as you can see with these bits, I'm not leaning hard, and I'm kind of doing almost little round motions because I don't want harsh lines. I want to kind of blend it in a bit as I go. So I'm just doing little round circles almost that blend in. And then a little bit down here. And it's good sometimes if you just get a couple of wee sharp details here and there. That can really help define things and bring things out. So there and there, for example. It's quite an odd eye, this actually. It's got a few kind of odd lines and things going on. So I'm just trying to capture that a bit. And I'll get in with my indigo blue again, just over the highlights to bring those out. And although it's not there, I'm going to just put a little bit of blue at the top of the highlights over there as well. Again, artistic license, and I just feel it would look better with them there. And I'm going back in with my Spanish orange, which is really just like a kind of, it's actually more of a yellow. I'm not sure why they've called it Spanish orange. It is more kind of yellow, I would say. It's like a very warm yellow. Nice, but still yellow. Put that in round about there. Round about the highlight, I think, because it's kind of yellowy. as well. And I'm just going to, and this is another technique. It doesn't always have to be the blender pen. This is Spanish orange, and I'm just going to go over the top of that brown, and I don't know if you can see that, but it's blending it in as well. So there are other techniques to blending. It's just that I really enjoy the blender pen because it's so quick and easy and gets rid of all that graininess in one fell swoop. But you can go in with, for example, other colours over the top like this. That's blended that brown in, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just work with what you've got and what you like using. Everybody likes different things, so I'm going to put another wee line there just to sharpen that up, I think. Not sure I'm liking that very much. I think maybe when I darken in this pupil. Sometimes this will happen, by the way, as well. And sometimes you just need to take a wee step back. You know, if you start doing something you think, I'm not actually sure I like this or it's working, just take a little step back and just see what you think from a distance. Sometimes that makes all the difference. Sometimes you can get a bit too close to your work. I'm just going to darken all this as well. It is brown in the photo, but I'm just going to put a bit of black on top just to darken it a wee bit. And this part here I feel needs to lighten slightly, so I'll just go over that with the Spanish orange as well. Now this one I feel does have quite a lot of light areas, so I'm going to go in with a white. And although it's not white, I'm just going to go in here, as you can see, just lightly over the top. And this is where I was talking about the different types of highlights, and this is more putting almost like a little glaze over the top, and I think it comes down there as well. And I'm just going to blend in the blue with the white. Again, not using the blender pen here, I just think it'll work fine with that. Depends on the effect you're trying to get. Okay, so I've got a wee, do you see how that's kind of that white? I just do that because I'm quite liking that. You can see that build up slightly, and it gives that kind of sheen, almost like something just catching the light over the top of it, rather than it being, I'm just going to tone that down slightly, rather than it being a bright white highlight, it's given that lovely reflective quality that you get in an eye, where the light is reflecting off, but perhaps at an angle, so it's not like a pure white highlight, but it is given that kind of reflective quality. I quite like that. Now this is where I've kind of gone off course a wee bit, because that highlight isn't there on the real thing. I'm going to do one there as well, and I've just got a bit carried away and thought I like that. So that's okay though, that is okay. And I'm actually, just to balance it out, I'm kind of thinking I might just add a little bit here as well, and we'll get that same reflective quality just at the edge. There we go. I like that. That makes it look just that wee bit more realistic, I think. And I'm going to just put in some red. This red's really strong. It's crimson red I'm using, and it's a Prismacolor, but it's really, I'm barely touching there, and it's going quite bright, which is quite nice actually. And I'm going to just brighten up that one as well, because I think I blended it and it kind of disappeared slightly. Okay, do you know, it's not quite finished, but I think I'm quite happy with that for now. And if you're enjoying this, I will continue to put this cat up, and you'll see how it progresses and see the finished article. And hopefully you like it. So I think I'll finish there for today. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, please like, subscribe, hit the bell, and join me again for another video. If you like my content, I'm also over on Instagram, so feel free to check out my page, and please tune in again. I would love to hear from you. See you later. Bye.